Hello there, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Ijeoma Innocent and these are the top stories. Peter Obi knocks Tinubu over claims of inheriting serious liabilities from former President Buhari. Labour Party reacts to Atiku's merger proposal as NNPP gives condition. Labour union suspends strike after NSA intervention and NMA threatens industrial action over kidnap of 10 doctors in Enugu State. On the foreign scene, UK's Cameron vows military support on surprise Kyiv visit. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The World News at 12 begins with the Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, slamming President Bola Tinubu over claims of inheriting a bankrupt nation from the immediate past administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. President Tinubu had on Monday night lamented that Nigeria has severe deficits in port, power infrastructure and agro-allied facilities, saying that his administration would ensure that all the shortcomings are addressed. President Tinubu said even though his government also inherited assets from his predecessors, he would not make any excuses. In a statement via X on Thursday, Peter Obi faulted the APC government for failing to disclose the degree of deficit inherited, which would help the public know where the country is headed. The former Anambra State governor recalled how the APC administration also blamed the PDP in 2015 for inheriting a bankrupt nation and subsequently increasing the country's debt profile. Peter Obi added that the recent revelation calls for the need to drastically reduce the cost of governance. Also, he noted the dilemma raised by the government about the bad state of Nigeria's finances raises questions about the rationale behind some expenditure items in the supplementary budget recently signed into law. Meanwhile, the Labour Party has welcomed the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar's call for opposition parties to merge and oust the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC). You will recall that Atiku Abubakar, the 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), had suggested that opposition parties should enter a merger to dislodge the APC from power in 2027. The PDP flag bearer warned against the likelihood of Nigeria slipping into a one-party state. Reportedly reacting to the proposition in an interview with the Punch newspapers, the acting National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Obiora Ifo, described Atiku's merger proposal as a good one that should be considered. But on a phone call with the Labour Party spokesman Yunusa Tanko, he noted that the story has been debunked and the Labour Party has no interest in the merger but may accept a working alliance. Let's take a listen to him.
Because right here, what I have in front of me says, reacting to Atiku's proposition in an interview with The Punch, that the acting National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Obiora Ifo, described Atiku's merger proposal as a good one that should be considered. Is the Labour Party really considering anything like this, sir? All right then, thank you so much, sir. I'd like to ask, rather than a measure, you said a working alliance. If this is going to happen, because right here it's saying that the NNPP has given a condition saying if the PDP and the Labour Party and any other political party which is considering a measure would put forward the NNPP candidate to represent whatever party that the measure forms, how will the Labour Party react to this? Because will the presidential candidate of the Labour Party also still want to be in the forefront? All right then, sir, let's come to Lagos State. The appeal court has actually affirmed the victory of Governor Sanwo-Olu in Lagos right here. The appellate court yesterday dismissed the appeals brought against his re-election by the PDP and the Labour Party. How is the Labour Party reacting to this? Yes, sir.
In another development, the organized labor has suspended the nationwide strike that commenced on Tuesday, November 14, to protest the brutalization of the NLC president, Joe Ajaero, in Owerri, the Imo State capital. The decision to suspend the action was reached at an emergency visual joint National Executive Council meeting of NLC and the GUC. During the next session, there was an agreement to suspend the industrial action, following a plea by the National Security Advisor, NSA, Malam Nuhu Ribadu. Elsewhere, the federal government will today commence the trial of the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, on alleged economic sabotage. VOP News reports that Emefiele will be arraigned at a high court in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, today. A notice sent by journalists revealed that Emefiele will be presented before Justice Hamza Muazu alongside co-defendant Ramalan Yaro. Meanwhile, the Enugu State chapter of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, has threatened that industrial action may be taken in Enugu State if the state government and security agencies fail to take immediate proactive measures to safeguard the medical and dental council workers in the state. The body raised the alarm that no less than 10 of its members had fallen victim to kidnap, particularly from their workplaces in the past 2 months, saying that their lives were no longer guaranteed in the state. You're still listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Now to speak on the issues that have been highlighted in this news bulletin, I have with me our learned guest and a wonderful analyst. I'm talking about CP Chuks Iwamu. He is a political, social and national affairs analyst and commentator, as well as a former commissioner of police for Oyo State. Good afternoon, CP.
Good afternoon to you, Ijeoma.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. Let's talk about Peter Obi knocking President Tinubu over claims of inheriting serious liabilities from President Buhari, and also the Labour Party's reaction to the merger proposal. You had the Labour Party spokesman Yunus Atanko saying he does not know where the news was gotten from, that they welcomed the merger, but the Labour Party is not going into a merger with any political party. I'd like us to take the two issues together because of our time. So Peter Obi says, you need to come out and let us know what is the degree of deficit that you found in the treasury. Are we really expecting that? Because it seems that accountability is one way and government at many levels, at all levels actually, are going the other way.
Well, concerning the accountability vis-a-vis what we have in the National Treasury is concerned, it is neither here nor there, in the sense that we need to audit the accounts of the Federation. Thorough audit. Let us know exactly which is which. Well, like what we have been seeing, what we have as we speak, we are talking of debt of about 87 trillion naira. How we got there is left to be explained by the last 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari's regime. And the so-called foreign reserve, which we used to depend on in terms of stability for the economy, the truth is yet to come on the position of the reserve. They need to audit also the foreign reserve. Let us know exactly what we have there. But from the revelations we got from JP Morgan, you know, is something of concern. And those auditors are international auditors, you know, and they had come up with something worrisome. And that is why we were forced into floating the foreign exchange market, so that the parallel market and the official rate will find its level. And we have seen how the thing has turned up as we speak. It has messed up the whole place, to the extent that Naira has cascaded beyond 1,000. At a point, it got to 1,300 to $1. So there are a lot of, there's so much lacuna in what is happening in the financial systems.
All right, let's go over to the Labour Party saying that they do not want a merger at all, and they are not even planning to get into a merger with the NNPP or any other party, or the PDP or any other party for that matter. Now, the Labour Party spokesman says they will not be going into a merger, but they might go into a working alliance. What is the difference?
Well, what he's saying is just for now, because 2027 is yet to come close. They can do alliance. It is a normal thing, but I'm sure by the time the whistle is blown, they will likely find themselves dissolving all their structures and forming one big political opposition party. That will be a fresh name, a brand new name, that will now dissolve all the names and the structures of the existing parties. Because that's exactly what the present ruling party did in 2013-2014. It used to be ACN, headed by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the present president. The CPC, headed by Muhammadu Buhari, who was the past president. A faction of the ABGA was led by Rocha Sokorocha, who was then governor of Imo State, and a faction too of AMPP, led by Senator, what's his name again? Ali Modu Sherif of the AMPP then. So it was the four that came together and marched into what we call APC today, and they became formidable. They were like very strong broom that was sweeping everywhere and swept away the umbrella that was already tattered. And that brought the PDP to an end after 16 years of being in power. And prior to then, the PDP was making so much noise, especially by their mouthpiece in the presence of Professor Jerry Ghana, that the PDP will be in government for 60 years. We ended up seeing them there for 16 years. So who said the same thing will not repeat itself on the other side between now and 2027? So the alliance may not really work out things. The alliance could only be for them to know what is at stake, which office will go to who, and so on and so forth. In the end, if they don't do a merger, it will be really difficult for them to get through in 2027. That's one. Then two, the key area that is of concern, which made Atiku Abubakar to be looking in that direction, is when the chairman of the APC, the person of Ganduje, came out, Abdullahi Ganduje, the former governor of Kano State, came out to say that they are all working assiduously towards collapsing totally the opposition and making them part of APC. In other words, he's driving the polity towards a one-party system, which is totally unconstitutional. The Constitution makes provision for multi-party system. So in other words, it is better in a democracy to have that. Otherwise, if you have a one-party system, you are no longer being democratic. You are doing dictatorship, one authoritarian one-party system. But if you have an opposition, and a strong opposition for that matter, if you derail like the PDP did, the opposition had to throw them out, in as much as the incumbent or the sitting president was of the major party as at that time. He ended up getting 12-point-something million votes, while Buhari from the opposition got 15-point-something million votes. So who told you the same thing will not be repeated in 2027 if things continue to degenerate the way it is going now?
What about right now? What about right now forming that formidable opposition that will stand against, or that will stand toe to toe with the ruling party, with the APC? So because I recall when the PDP was in power, the APC was very vocal, and even when former President Muhammadu Buhari came on, whatever happened even till the last month of his administration was the fault of Jonathan's government. What about that opposition right now? Is the PDP strong enough to stand as an opposition, to stand as a single opposition to the APC? Is the Labour Party strong enough to stand as the main opposition or the second main opposition to the APC as it is right now? Is 2027 not too far away to be looking at that measure? What about right now?
Well, right now they are doing their bit. They are doing their best. You can see the way they have been tackling the ruling party. They are not giving them breathing space. And that is why any argument the APC puts up, if it is not in the overriding interest of the public, they are always challenged. If PDP is not challenging them, Labour is challenging them. And that is why you see some of the spokespersons of the APC will come out and be talking things that does not make meaning by saying that the statements from either Labour Party or PDP amounts to treason. And I'll just be laughing at them. I say, maybe those people need to go and visit their law books or look for lawyers to advise them properly and tell them what treason means. You don't just come out and say because somebody challenges you for doing what he believes is a wrong, then you say he is committing treason. You cannot sustain it. So you're just exposing your ignorance that you don't even know what you're talking about. So what I'm saying is that so far, so good. The two opposing parties major parties, they are living up to expectation. They are like checks and balance to what the ruling party is doing today.
So they are doing what they need to do to put the APC on their toes.
Of course, that's what they are doing.
Right now.
Right now.
All right then. Now let's look at the fact that we heard that on one hand we heard from Yunus Atanko, who I had to call, and then he said that the story has been debunked, and then we also had on this hand saying, the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party said yes, there will be a measure. More than once we've had situation where they would say, this story did not come from our camp, it might be coming from the other camp. And then if you recall, Yunus Atanko also spoke about the elections, the off-cycle elections in Kogi, Imo and Bayelsa, and he also spoke about the elections in Lagos State. In Lagos, and apart from on the national level, is Labour Party doing what they need to do in states right now, standing as that formidable opposition? Because many people are saying that the PDP's legs seem to be shaking.
Well, the thing is this. What is playing out now is individual opinions of the key parties. And they are just being very tactical and very, very cautious so that they don't make statements that will jeopardize the position of the political party they represent. Having said that, what is really being playing out now as we speak is that they have not had a consensus of opinion, whereby each of the parties would have called for maybe meeting and begin to look at the issues one after the other. It is after that, it is after such position would have been reached that they can come out comfortably and say, yes, this is the direction we are going. So they are just being careful not to commit themselves on positions that had not been a collective decision of the party. That's exactly what is playing out. That's why they are being clever and careful at the same time, telling you it's an alliance. It's not a merger that they are talking about now.
Okay.
But when the time comes, whether they like it or not, that merger will still rear its head.
Let's look at the labor strike, which has finally been suspended after 2 days. I would first of all want to ask, is this what you expected? Because many people expected labor to take it, to the next level at this point, because you're protesting against the brutalization of your president in Imo State. They've accused the Imo State government. There's been accusations back and forth between the Imo State government, the administration of Governor Hope Uzodinma, and the NLC and the TUC as well. Have they gotten their point across? Also, intervention came from the National Security Advisor. What does it have to do with labor? What about the Ministry of Labor and Employment? What about Simon Lalong, the Minister of Labor? Shouldn't he be the one doing that?
Well, the thing is that Simon Lalong had, in the present circumstance, abdicated his responsibility and seems not to know what to do in what is playing out now. That is one. Then two, the labor itself too is also being careful not to cross the red line, because the federal government had already gone to court, got an injunction restraining them from going into protests of any kind or any sort. So, but rather what the labor is trying to hold on to is that who did they serve that order restraining? Maybe they have cited it, but they have not been properly served. So both sides are playing cat and mouse game. But whatever it is, at least they have reached a point where they have an understanding and then decided not to go further with the strike. Because if they had continued, maybe the executive would have used the big stick or the sledgehammer by bringing those orders they got from the court, restraining them, to look for some people as scapegoats, which the labor wouldn't have really liked or wouldn't have really want the situation to go to that direction. That's exactly what has just played out.
You spoke about times when it would seem that the federal government or other institutions of the federal government were disobeying court orders, but what they were actually doing was getting other, court injunctions so that they would not be seen to have disobeyed court orders so that they will keep on with what they are doing. Is that what Labour should have done in this situation? Also, critics and many Nigerians are of the opinion that the Labour Party, the Labour Union rather, going on a strike at this point due to the brutalization of the NLC president does not speak well of them when they keep suspending their strikes, even with the 15-point MOU that they signed with the federal government, of which many of them haven't really been implemented, and they weren't really proactive, but until Ajero was brutalized before they became proactive. How do you weigh in?
That's the thing. The thing is that they would have faced the issue of the 15-point agenda and see how they pursue it to the end of the road. That the president of the NLC was brutalized wasn't cogent enough for them to call for national strike. Instead of focusing on the 15-point agenda, that's the area they would have, taken their grievances to. Now, bringing in the issue of brutalizing Ajero, president of NLC, it's like they are playing politics. They are playing into the hands of the politicians.
It seems like they are no longer doing this in the interest of the workers.
Exactly. That is where they lost they lost their bearing, because it was like the thing is not being personalized. What they are going to get out of this, not necessarily what is in the interest of the workers generally. And that is why it has gone the way it did. But good enough, they've all gone back to work.
Do you think the federal government will take them serious with this back and forth?
I don't think so, because they have subsumed themselves into politics. So the government of the day will now capitalize on that, and will keep moving and doing their thing the way they want. And they will not really take labor serious.
All right, then our time is fast spent and we need to go. But I need you to speak for a minute or two on the Emefiele situation. He's finally been arraigned by the federal government over allegations of economic sabotage. Meanwhile, the CBN has said that the old and redesigned 500, 200 and 1,000 naira notes can coexist forever. Did he just put us through all of this stress for nothing?
It's unfortunate that things went the way it did in terms of redesigning of the naira, and good enough, they have left it open-ended that the two old and new can coexist, because if you look at the cost of even producing the new, it is like using 10 times the cost to produce one. It doesn't make economic sense. If you look at that. That is by the way. Then concerning his arraignment, we cannot go into details on that until we see the charges, when they begin to reel out the area that has been violated and the extent of collateral damage done to our resources, and who are the beneficiaries. Then we'll now know where we are going.
One of it is economic sabotage. He did not do this alone. What about the others?
That is where I'm going. That as the process commences, we will now know, because the details will be, it cannot be hidden. It will be public. So whoever that would have been listed or mentioned as the beneficiaries will still be brought in to come and explain how those disbursements went.
Right,
and who are the beneficiaries and all that.
Thank you so much, CP Chooks, for joining me on the World News at 12 this afternoon. It's always a pleasure, for us getting from your wealth of knowledge and experience. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ijeoma.
You are still listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. On the front, and British Foreign Secretary David Cameron has vowed to keep up military support for Ukraine during an announced trip to Kyiv for talks with President Volodymyr Zelensky. His office said today former Prime Minister Cameron was in Kyiv on his first visit abroad as Foreign Minister of the UK, which has been a staunch military and political ally of Ukraine since the Russian invasion. During a meeting with Zelensky, he noted that the country will continue to give Ukraine the moral support, diplomatic, economic, but above all, the military support for however long it takes. Zelensky thanked Cameron for making the trip while the world's attention was on the conflicts playing out in the Middle East. Ukraine's foreign ministry said Cameron had attended talks on issues related to armaments, arms production, and security maritime in the Black Sea. Well, that's it on the World News at 12. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. We heard that Peter Obi has knocked President Tinubu over claims of inheriting serious liabilities from Buhari. Labour Party reacts to Atiku's measure proposal. The Labour Union suspends strike after NSA intervention, and NMA threatens industrial action over kidnap of 10 doctors in Enugu. On the fronting, UK's Cameron vows military support on surprise Kyiv visit. And that is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Ijeoma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903 FM. For coverage of your live events and brand news mentioned on the news bulletins, do send the mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon and thank you for listening. Please stay tuned. Matters with Ikami Jude comes up next.